Everybody, it's Adam Tracy, and like the last week, 10 days have obviously been super chaotic in the crypto sphere because of the bank meltdown. And you can kind of point to like different reasons, and it's like, okay, Silvergate, had a lot of exposure to FTX. People ran to get their money out and caused its demise. Silicon Valley Bank really didn't have that much exposure, and it just sounds like the more and more you read, it was run by a bunch of clowns. So banks fail, right? It just happened to be a bigger bank. And then you look at Signature and like what happened today, where they announced that Flagstaff had bought the portfolio of Signature with the exception of its crypto related assets, which was 4 million out of like 84 million. So in reality, it was a very, very small percentage. It was lower than anything from like a risk protocol that would really make any difference. And the stated reason that the FDIC closed Signature Bank was quote unquote systemic risk, which is this sort of like catch-all for, when we can't find a reason, but you're probably over levered or there's going to be a run. And so we're going to close it anyway. So the reality is, was it sort of like a hit job to put Signature and a number, especially like OTC traders, out of business because they have no place to bank? And, there's two ways to take it. Like one, if there was greater regulation, more clarity of regulation, I think you'd see a lot more banks willing to accept the business. And it's not that like crypto, whether it's an OTC or an exchange, aren't regulated. They are. They're all MSBs with FinCEN. They're money transmitters at the state level. It's just that people don't find that to be acceptable enough. And I don't know if that's right or wrong or indifferent, but it's just kind of stupid. So if there was greater transparency in terms of what the regulation was, then I think none of this really would have had to have happened in the first place, because crypto operators of all ilk would really know what they're doing and what they can and can't do. So you look at that, and I think there's also the myth that spun from that there's no place for crypto parties to bank. And that's not true. There's plenty. And feel free to reach out to me if you need to know who they are. And then you have more crypto platforms or crypto-friendly platforms emanating out of like the Wyoming SPDIs, which I've talked about before, and things like that. So I think there's like more options on the horizon, but it's not like there's no options in the present. But the, I guess, maybe unintended or intended impact of all of this is like the natural inclination and like the quick inclination and the more certain inclination, if you operate in the crypto space, is to go offshore, because one, it's not difficult to operate, and two, there's a lot more banks, even in Europe, like Switzerland, there's a lot more banks that will accept crypto operators of all ilks, especially if they're licensed, right? If they're licensed, it's easy. It's just here in the States, even though obviously there's people who are operating in an unlicensed capacity, which is, a problem, but overwhelmingly, like anybody notable is licensed, because you'd be crazy not to be, because you're on the radar. So, the whole, there's something behind it, and like, who wants to get into like some political debate, but the long and the short of it is there are other banks in the United States that will accept crypto related business. Don't expect to, simply get the account open in 2 days, but they're out there. And two, there's more on the horizon, but like at a state level, especially like in Wyoming, where they've created that special class of quote unquote high risk bank that would allow for, to allow the bank to cater to crypto businesses. But as like an immediate, I guess, gut reaction, why wouldn't everybody just go offshore, right? Where, you can find banking, you can find corporate structures, and it doesn't take long, right? It's not like setting up a company in Wyoming takes 10 minutes, but okay, fine, it takes 2 days, and the bank maybe takes like 2-3 weeks. It's not going to be any different here, right? So I don't know what like the intended effect, especially in terms of like signature, which seems like a calculated hit, what that really was for. But all it's going to do is like minimize compliance with what scant laws the US does have and push the business offshore where it can't be regulated, and you're losing out on that economic activity. Like all of that is gone or going to be gone unless access to banks and payment rails come back, which I think the trend is going that way, not like the federal level, but at a state level. But it's just odd, right? Like, you know, especially considering it was such a small piece of the puzzle, right? And I guess if you were like a true crypto purist, you want nothing to do with a fiat bank anyway, but it's a necessary evil. So that's my take on it. You know, I don't know. But if you have questions or looking for like banks, US or offshore, that are like crypto friendly, you know, definitely hit me up, Adam at Tracy, TRACY.io. I will talk to you next time. Cheers.